The role of irony in tragedy is also an important aspect of this genre that contributes to its emotional and intellectual impact. The tragedies are often marked by a sense of dramatic irony, where the audience knows more about the characters' fates than the characters themselves. This creates a sense of tension and inevitability as the audience watches the protagonist unknowingly make decisions that will lead to their ruin. This irony intensifies the tragedy as the audience experiences a sense of helplessness and anticipatory dread, knowing that the protagonist is blind to the consequences of their action. A prime example of this is seen in Oedipus Rex, where the Oedipus is determined to find the truth of his origins only for him to discover that he is the cause of the plague, ravaging his city, fulfilling a prophecy he tried to avoid it. Tragedy also involves a catharsis experience not just for the audience but it for characters themselves also. The moment of realization or self-awareness known as here in the tragedy, where the protagonist gains knowledge of their true nature or the full scope of the circumstances. In many tragic plays, this recognition happens too late to prevent the disaster that follows, heightening the emotional impact. In King Lear, the titular characters gains insight into their mistake, such as dividing his kingdom among his daughters based on flattery rather than merit, only to die shortly after his realization, adding another layer of sorrow and tragedy to the story. Moreover, the tragic hero's journey is often marked by a sense of isolation as the hero's flaws or mistakes lead to their downfall. They become alienated from those around them, creating a sense of loneliness and despair. This isolation can be both physical, such as exile of the hero, or emotional, as the hero struggles with their consequences, guilt, or grief. The detachment amplifies the emotional power of the narrative as the audience feels the hero's growing solitude and sense that no redemption or reconciliation is possible. This is notably seen in Shakespeare's Macbeth, where the title character's ambition drives him to murder and betrayal, thus resulting in a paranoid descent into madness that leaves him estranged from everyone around him. Tragedy also allows for the exploration of human psyche in profound way. The internal conflict within the tragic hero is often mirrors the external conflict of the plot. The hero's battle is not just against an external antagonist, but against own desires, fears, and weakness. This psychological depth adds a layer of complexity to the character as their journey involves both confronting and stumbling to their own inner turmoil. The character flow or hamartia is often a psychological trait such as excessive pride, jealousy, or ambition that leads to the character's downfall. That psychological aspect of tragedy is what makes the genre is compelling, as it taps into universal experience or grappling with inner conflict and darker aspect of human nature. Knowing classical form of tragedy often ends to death or ruin, modern tragedies sometimes often a more ambiguous or open-ended conclusion when the protagonist may not necessarily die but still experience profound loss or suffering. These modern tragedies continue to explore the timeless theme of existential despair, moral ambiguity, and the search for meaning in a poetic word. Example of modern tragedy works can be found in the plays of Arthur Miller, such as Death of a Salesman, where the protagonist Willy Loman struggles with the disillusionment of the American dream. See here the example of Arthur Miller. Disillusionment of American dream and his own sense of failure. Although Willie does not face the physical death of a classical tragic hero, his psychological death and the emotional devastation of his family create a modern tragedy that still speaks to core of human suffering. In conclusion, the enduring appeal of tragedy as a dramatic form lies in its ability to examine the complexity of human existence and inevitable consequence of human action. Through its exploration of fate, moral dilemma, irony, psychological depth, and emotional catharsis, tragedy remains a powerful vehicle for reflecting on the darker aspect of life, whether through ancient text, classical plays, or modern interpretations. The tragic genre continues to give the audiences by exploring the universal themes of loss, guilt, suffering, and the quest for redemption, making its timeless and deeply resonant form of drama. Then we have the tragicomedy. Tragicomedy is a genre that blends elements of both tragedy and comedy, often creating a complex narrative that moves between lightheartedness and deep, sometimes a painful moment in such stories. The dramatic tension and emotional depth of a tragedy coexist with the humor and absurdity of a comedy, resulting in a work that defies simple categorization. One of the key features of tragicomedy is the way explores the human condition and its multifaceted nature. Characters often face serious or existential dilemmas, yet they also encounter situations where humor arises from their actions, misfortunes, misunderstanding, misbehavior. This creates a sense of unpredictability as the audience is constantly oscillating between a sense of unpredictability as the audience is constantly oscillating between laughter and sadness, the highlighting the contradictory aspect of life itself. The blending of tragedy and comedy allows for more exploration of themes such as fate, love, loss, identity. Characters may experience personal disaster, but their ability to find humor in their situation can provide moments of levity and insight. It is not unusual or tragic comedies to end on bittersweet note, whether the resolution is neither entirely joyful or not completely sorrowful, but rather reflection of the complexities of life. Tragicomedy offers a unique storytelling approach reflecting the unpredictability of human existence, where moments of joy can exist side by side with sorrow, and where the laughter can emerge from the darkest of circumstances. In the tragicomedy, the interplay between lightness and the darkness often underscores the unpredictable nature of life itself. For example, characters may engage in farcical or absurd behavior in the midst of trying to navigate profound emotional or moral challenges. This blend of the serious and allows the audience to engage with narrative or multiple levels, simultaneously acknowledging weight of the characters' struggle and the comic absurdities they encounter. The beauty of tragicomedy lies in its ability to reflect the contradictions inherent in the human experiences. People are rarely entirely happy or sad, and life itself is a mix of height and lows, which this genre often portrays with subtlety. It allows the audience to laugh at moments of intense distress and or sorrow in moments of supposed joy, forcing them to confront the complexities of human emotions. The laughter that emerges in tragicomedy isn't necessarily a release from tension but an acknowledgement of life where joy and sorrow coexist in a almost absurd balance. This is a tragicomedy. We will continue the same in the next part. Thank you. Good day.